Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and beyond. Thanks to First NBC Bank for their continuing support. The New Orleans Saints and the Giants this coming Sunday. First up, a couple of new members of the Saints Hall of Fame and a couple of local guys made good. Always a good story when locals make good. But Tyrone Hughes and Michael Lewis certainly fit that bill to a T. Both became All-Pros. Very similar in their careers and what they did and accomplished. And obviously it's a nice touch for them. And, of course, Doug Thornton, who's just a class act and has done a phenomenal job with SMG, marshaling the Superdome to health after Katrina and even before then. And what he's done since, as well as with Smoothie King Center, a great guy. So these people are richly deserving.
I agree, and you mentioned it. I mean, it's almost eerie. It's Halloween weekend, so it's almost eerie just how similar the resumes of Tyrone Hughes and Michael Lewis are. But the only difference is Tyrone didn't drive a beer truck before he, that's. But still, in all, it's what they accomplished, both being from New Orleans, what they accomplished on the field with the Saints. Very, very similar resumes, and yes, richly deserving to go in together. This is
it was just perfect. It wasn't intended that way,
right? This is it's Breeders' Cup weekend as well. This is 1 and 1A in my mind. So when you're talking about return men in the history of this franchise.
No doubt, and they were both All-Pros, which means they were the best at what they did. And not Pro Bowlers, they were that too, but All-Pros. They were the best at what they did at a particular time in that league. Very significant, to say the least. As mentioned, the Saints play the Giants on Sunday, and it's a big game on so many fronts. A chance to get to 500, a favorite at home against another contender in the NFC that you'll be battling with down the road. So tremendous implications with this football game for a Saints team that's playing better, for a Giants team that's been kind of up and down, and has not had a pass rush, and has a defensive coordinator that was once with the Saints.
Yeah, the last time these two teams met, Steve Spagnuolo was on the New Orleans sideline, and the Giants hung up 52. Interestingly, the last 3 times these teams have played, the winning team has scored at least 48 points. Are we going to see that kind of game Sunday? I'm not so sure about that. But I like what the Saints have done here the last 2 weeks. Run the football, make a commitment to the run. Force turnovers, back-to-back games with 3 turnovers for the first time since the Super Bowl season of 2009. And look, make an impact on special teams. Sure, we saw a bad snap and a missed extra point against Indianapolis, but you look at what we've seen in the special teams game over the last 2 weeks. We've seen a block punt for a touchdown. We've seen a fake field goal that set up a touchdown. We've even seen a turnover forced on a kickoff return. So making some big plays in the special teams and look, working from ahead. You can't be understated in this. That's part of why this defense has been able to do what it's been able to do the last 2 weeks.
The other New Orleans Major League team, the New Orleans Pelicans, off to a rocky start, 0-2 after losing to Golden State in Portland. No surprise, given that they were so short-handed, although they didn't play very well overall in either game. Didn't quit, made a nice run against Portland, but too far down in that game. And this is a mash unit right now, Lenny. It's hard to evaluate this team. Some people are down on them. I understand that, but this is not their team. The problem is, when is it going to be their team?
That's a great point. And the one thing that keeps coming to mind here is last year's Oklahoma City Thunder that played hurt early in the year, got themselves behind the 8 ball, got it together, then had more injuries, and ended up missing the playoffs by a whisker to the Pelicans. Is that what we're going to be dealing with this year, or can this team right the ship quicker? First chance or next chance comes Saturday night, the home opener against Golden State. The good news is you're facing Golden State twice in a week, and you've only got to see them one more time the rest of the year, and that comes much later. The bad news is you're seeing them with a roster one hand tied behind its back.
Yeah, kind of hard to beat a team of that caliber with this roster as we speak. The LSU Tigers are off this weekend in preparation for the big one with Alabama the following weekend. It becomes a matter of relative health. Do you have the key players healthy and ready to roll? Because you want to be ready, and having the week off certainly will help.
It will on both ends, and obviously we'll have a lot of build-up as we head into next week and leading into next Saturday, as it seems like it always is with this game. Both teams have the week off before, and it's almost Super Bowl-like, really.
No question. Of course, Tulane has a very tall task. Memphis, undefeated, haven't lost in, over a year, and they have a great quarterback that you can read about at SportsNOLA.com with Al Dupuy, and how he projects so well to the NFL draft right now. So it's really a difficult task for Tulane. We've said it all along going into this stretch of 4 games, and unfortunately it looks like they're going to go 0 for 4.
Yeah, they got unless you could pull off a miracle on Saturday, but Memphis is, much the best on paper, and Paxton Lynch is as good as there's been. If he was playing at a Power 5 school right now, I think he'd be right in the conversation with Leonard Fournette in terms of Heisman Trophy consideration. The thing to watch with Memphis is this, okay, is that obviously they've got a couple of tough games coming up in November, but they've got to keep the foot on the throttle, in terms of possibly getting into that New Year's Day Bowl. Are they a contender to possibly crash the college football playoff? Could they sneak up into that spot depending on what else happens down the stretch here? And again, they've got to go to Houston and to Temple, the other 2 undefeated teams in the American in the month of November.
Yeah, I think Memphis is the most attractive of the 3 because of Lynch and because of what they've been able to do over 2 years, and they would get the voters' love, I do believe, over Houston and Temple, depending on what happens, obviously, with those teams. Somebody has to go undefeated. It's that simple if they want to get there, and we'll see if that can happen. It's a big weekend for high school football as well, of course, starting Thursday night with Warren Easton and Carr at SportsNOLA.com and a big matchup, district championship on the line. Friday night, the original on WGSO and statewide, and, of course, our scoreboard at SportsNOLA.com that you can't miss. Everybody comes to it on Friday night, and the guys do a great job, so you need to check that out Friday night as well. And then Saturday, a special live edition of a blockbuster game, maybe the most anticipated game of the year in Louisiana, as the 2 powers finally collide. It's John Curtis and Rummel, and it's 2 p.m. live on WHNO TV 20 and at SportsNOLA.com. Read about the game at SportsNOLA right now with a preview. It doesn't get much better than this, and it's one that people have waited for a long time.
They really have. As mentioned, we thought we might get it in the finals last year in the Dome. Didn't work out that way. Now we finally get it. Hopefully the weather cooperates and isn't a factor in this game, because it has a chance to really be a special game between 2 outstanding football teams. In all likelihood, this will ultimately decide the Catholic League title.
Yeah, very good chance for that to happen, so we encourage you to watch on WHNO TV 20. If you can't get to a television, you watch it at SportsNOLA.com. You will enjoy it. I'm quite sure of that. It's going to be a great weekend, so stay tuned, and we'll be back to talk with you more about everything that happened on Monday. Lenny, have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you Monday.
That's our first NBC Bank Weekend Preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.